6 spine-chilling true stories exposing sinister secrets that will leave you breathless with terror. The sun blazed bright over the quiet streets of Hillcrest, where families laughed and children played. Sarah took a deep breath, drenching herself in the scent of fresh-cut grass, feeling a flicker of something she had long since lost, hope. With her recent divorce still burning in her mind, she stepped into her new 2-story home. The unpacked boxes loomed like silent witnesses, while the vibrant neighborhood promised a fresh start. However, this idyllic scene was but a thin veil stretched over dark happenings. As the sun dipped, shadows grew longer, creeping just outside her children's window. They giggled and whispered about their new friend in the woods, an imaginary creature that, according to them, danced between the trees. Sarah's heart skidded. Hadn't they just escaped a world of broken glass and shattered comfort? She brushed it off, unwilling to deal with what seemed like innocent kid fantasies, but the tension settled in her gut like lead. Day after day, she observed the community, the whispers exchanged at picnics, the laughter that faded when she drew near. What were they hiding? Faces that once seemed warm now appeared painted in plastic smiles, and Sarah could hear the muffled tones of the neighborhood secrets echoing behind her. Rumors fluttered like trapped moths, circling back to the family's disappearance, a chilling tale of how they vanished during a summer filled with light. The unease morphed into dread as news of a missing child peppered local headlines. Everyone turned their heads a little faster whenever that charismatic neighbor sauntered by. Something about him made her skin crawl, and the toys he left at her children's door began to resemble tokens of something tragic, not sweet gifts. Community helper, he called himself, but Sarah felt the wrongness radiating from him. Days bled into one another, yet she wouldn't let herself be paralyzed by paranoia. Late nights became her refuge, poring over forgotten records highlighted accounts of occult practices stitched into the town's folklore. She felt the weight of a hidden history pressing on her chest, strangling her breath. Whispers painted the air thicker than fog. Children used to play in hidden corners where shadows licked at their laughter. Sarah knew she had to confront the hyphen that linked these spirits to her own. Then came the night she ventured to the abandoned school. It stood like a sentry, crumbling and silent, memories of lost laughter tickling her spine. Heart pounding, she stepped inside, hoping for clarity and finding only darkness. Among the empty halls, her pulse raced. Voices echoed behind her. Her children had spoken about their friend. When she saw him, that supposed neighbor, he turned to face her, eyes glinting with a predatory allure. It felt like stepping on a nail as he invited her deeper into the shadows, words smooth and slithering. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clutching her children's toys, terror ignited within her. She was trapped in a web, the edges fraying, and the charming smiles of her neighbors revealed sharp teeth. She turned to run, but those very smiles followed her, laughter trailing her like a wretched second skin. As she gazed back, the woods beckoned, her children's laughter ringing hollow in the air. But who, lurking beneath the fabric of this town's facade, had they truly befriended? The answer, wrapped in shadows, clawed at her mind, leaving Sarah teetering on the edge of horror and reality. Her children at risk. In that moment, she realized freedom was a fragile illusion. The air inside the abandoned school thickened around her like a heavy blanket, suffocating and stale. Sarah's mind raced, heart pounding in her ears as she stumbled backward, her pulse a frantic drum. The laughter echoed once more, her children's laughter entwined with the malevolent chuckle of that man. It seeped into the walls, taunting her doubts. Where to go? She thought frantically, eyes darting between the shadows, looking for any means of escape. Those sharp smiles flashed through her mind, an eerie reminder of how easily fear masked its true face in this picturesque neighborhood. She couldn't linger here, the walls whispered secrets she may not want to hear. Wait. The neighbor called out, his voice like oil slipping through her fingers. Why not stay and play? She turned and ran, feet pounding against the peeling floorboards. Each thud resonated in the depths of her uncertainty. The hallway was a maze. Why did it feel so much longer? Panic twisted in her stomach, reforming her childhood nightmares of getting lost in the dark. Sarah could almost hear her own voice, a child's whisper pleading for help. With a desperate push, she flung the door open, hurling herself into the cool night. The moon hung high, illuminating the path leading back toward her home. But as she rushed forward, the scrapes of laughter chased after her. She didn't dare look back, every instinct told her to keep moving. Then a soft voice, drifting through the trees. Mommy, her breath stopped. Not her children's voices, but a lingering echo of innocence. She had to find them. Had they followed her? Or had they wandered away, enticed by that monstrous charmer? Guilt gnawed at her. Was her fear pushing them toward danger? Rushing through the brush, she called out, Lucas. Emily. Where are you? But not a sound came in reply. Instead, the creeping sensation returned, the heavy weight of being watched coiled around her. Every rustle in the foliage felt like a warning, every gust of wind carried a whisper of malice. She stumbled through the dark, branches clawing at her like desperate fingers. How had she not realized the woods felt like they were alive, waiting for something, or someone, to pay the ultimate price? Finally, she broke through the undergrowth, gasping as she came into the clearing where her children often played. The space, usually full of their laughter, was a void now. The moonlight poured in, casting ominous shadows through swaying branches. And then she saw a figure in the distance, small and hunched over. Mommy! That unmistakable voice rang out, and her heart surged. But what she saw left her breathless. It was not her Emily or Lucas. It was that neighbor, the one with the plastic smile. He knelt over something in the grass, the moon casting silver glints on what lay before him. Look, Sarah. Look what I found. His grin stretched wider, revealing teeth that gleamed like knives. Terror froze her in place. Just behind him, hidden in the shadows, another voice whispered sweetly. Mommy, we want to play, join us. As the truth dawned, a chill swept through her veins. What game had they all become a part of? A game of shadows, where the stakes were unspeakable, and then, in the flickering light, she caught the unmistakable glint of something sharp, an outline wrapping around her children's precious toys, binding them with dark intentions. Sarah's mind reeled, the woods had changed. Run! She screamed, as the shadows twisted, morphing into figures rising from the ground. It was too late. The laughter turned chaotic, the woods consuming the once serene night with a cacophony of sinister joy. Sarah felt her heart plummet. If this was just the beginning, how would she survive the night? As her instincts kicked in, she dashed toward the only path that led home. What would she face if she made it there? What sinister secrets awaited her beyond that door now? But the real question lingered in her mind, as dread pooled in her gut. Could she save her children before it was too late? The forest hummed, eager for the dark feast to begin. She sprinted through the trees, roots and branches clawing at her ankles, but she didn't stop. Each anguished scream of the night twisted into a cacophony of memories of laughter, hugs, bedtime stories. Those sounds, so innocent, now felt tainted as twisted voices echoed through the dark. Mommy! The voice was close. Desperation clawed at her throat, but she struggled to remain calm. The moonlight glinted off something sharp and jagged on the ground, a child's drawing crumpled and smeared with dark stains that sent her heart to her throat. It was Emily's drawing, depicting their family in bright colors, now sullied and wrong. Sarah snatched it up, her hand trembling as she scanned the shadows around her. Lucas! Emily! Panic surged through her every cell. She could hear the rustle of something in the woods, a soft thundering as if the trees themselves were moving, conspiring. They were alive, hiding secrets and taunting her fragile hope. And then, there it was again, the cheerful laughter innocent but warped. "We want to play." It surrounded her now, reverberating through the trees, pulling her deeper into the nightmare. She stumbled into the clearing, breathless, where she had last seen her children. The moon bathed it in silver, but it was no longer a place of joy. The playground, the swings creaking in a ghostly rhythm, the slide standing tall like a menacing silhouette, had morphed into a haunted tomb of her past. Lucas. The name tore from her lips. She felt the grip of despair squeezing her throat. Was it too late? A flicker of movement caught her eye. Beside the slide, a shape emerged, cloaked in swirling mist. It twisted and turned, beckoning her closer. "Come and play, Mommy." No, a whisper broke through her lips like dry leaves crumbling. She took a step back, but the figure lunged forward, revealing a face shrouded in shadow, eyes gleaming with the same predatory light as her neighbor's. "Join us. We've already begun." She turned, the sheer force of panic propelling her forward. The path home was fraught with branches that seethed like angry fingers, scratching at her skin. It was as if they were reaching out to pull her back into the dark. Suddenly, the ground shook, a low rumble that sent vibrations up her legs. The shadows coiled and twisted into monstrous forms, wrapping around her with an almost sentient will. Playtime isn't over yet. With a surge of adrenaline, she fought against the grasp, pushing back as best as she could. But the shadows were relentless, pulling her closer to that cursed laughter echoing through the night. Everything blurring around her, she spotted something, a red backpack, Lucas's favorite. She dove toward it as if it was a lifeline, tearing it from the depths of the shadows. Inside lay crumpled toys and colorful art supplies, all mixed with the chilling aura of dread. "Lucas! Emily!" The whisper in her ear echoed with fervor. They're coming for you too." Clutching the bag, Sarah scrambled back, heart racing. Was this a trap, or was there something more she could find here? Would it lead her to them or deeper into the heart of darkness? Then she felt it, cold fingers gripping her ankle, pulling her down into the abyss. The laughter crescendoed, rising like steam from a cauldron, peaking at a fevered pitch. The night felt alive with anticipation, like a promise of horrors yet to unfold. In that moment, she realized there was no escaping it. Whatever came next would forge her fate. In the distance, footsteps approached. Someone or something was coming to join the game. As she searched desperately for the strength to fight back, a voice broke through the chaos, oddly familiar yet horrifyingly sinister. "You think you can leave without playing our final game?" What did they want? What game would end this nightmare? Cold sweat dripped down Sarah's back as she fought against the grip at her ankle, tugging and kicking but only sinking deeper into the shadows. Panic surged, each breath a labor, and a sick realization set in: she wasn't just fighting to escape, something wanted her here. The echo of laughter bounced off the trees, a cruel mockery that pierced her ears. "Join us." The voice chimed again, a haunting melody that wrapped around her heart like a vice. With every ounce of strength, she finally tore free from the dark appendage, rolling onto the ground. She scrambled to her feet, but the clearing shifted, unsettlingly. The playground stood before her, yet the swings creaked now in a discordant rhythm, their chains rusted and shrieking. She clenched the backpack tighter, searching for anything that would anchor her to hope. "Help! Please!" she shouted, desperation filling the air as if it could draw her children back from the shadows. Nothing answered but the rustling of leaves and a taunting wind, as if the forest was alive with eyes watching, waiting for the next act. She took off again, the ground shifting beneath her, roots slithering like snakes, trying to trip her. With her heart pounding like a war drum, she wondered, what had happened to Lucas and Emily? Could they still be alive? Or had they already joined whatever malevolent force was lurking in this forsaken place? Not far ahead, a flicker of movement caught her eye, a flash of color against the dullness of despair. The autumn leaves shimmered, and she felt pulled towards it. It was a red ball, Jason's favorite. But as she drew closer, it rolled away, taunting her like a cruel specter. "No! She lunged for it, but the ball darted back into the trees, leading her deeper into the maze of misery. Stumbling after it, she felt an ominous shift in the air, it thickened, crackling with energy. Then she froze. From the colorless depths emerged blurry figures, barely visible but there. Their silhouettes danced at the corners of her vision, snickering and pointing. Were they children? The twisted shapes wore familiar clothes, her children's clothes. The laughter turned sinister, and she could hear them calling, echoing through the darkness, "Come play, Mommy. Come play with us." No. Her stomach twisted violently. "I'm coming." She tore through the trees, branches tearing at her skin, desperate not to lose them again. The laughter morphed, a bubbling horror, rising and falling like a wave that was about to crash. In her mind, the images of her children intertwined with the grotesque creatures that hovered in the shadows. Why couldn't she see them clearly? Were they trapped, or was this a cruel illusion? She dashed into a denser part of the woods, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Panic paralyzed her senses, the air was frigid as if the darkness itself breathed frost. Ahead, flickering shadows coalesced into a figure that loomed large against the trees. It stood still, waiting, a voice echoed a whisper too soft for anyone to hear. "Looking for someone, Mommy?" Frozen in terror, she recognized it. The figure, an uncanny replica of herself. The head tilted, a malicious grin stretched, obscured by shadows. "You've come to play, haven't you?" The laughter rose again, pure madness engulfing her. She clutched her head, trying to chase away the echoing voices. No. This isn't real. She stumbled back, mounting dread clawing its way up her spine, but the shadows tightened around her, pressing in, hungry and eager. Then the drumming of footsteps, heavy and purposeful, joined the fray. A physical manifestation of her deepest fear approached, the embodiment of her parental nightmares. "You can't leave, Sarah," it growled. "Not until the game is over." She gasped. The choice was gone, the rules of the game were never hers. What would it take to win, to escape this twisted reality? Before she could scream, the darkness lunged, and she felt it surge through her, a tidal wave of despair and longing. The laughter returned, insatiable and wild, wrapping its arms around her. And just then, she saw them, flickers of light, the faint forms of Lucas and Emily, barely visible beyond a curtain of swirling shadows, reaching out to her. "Mommy, help us," they cried, their voices intertwining with the cacophony, heartbreaking and tender. A glimmer of hope ignited in her chest, but was it too late? What would she sacrifice to bring them back? Would she pay the ultimate price? In that haunted grove, with shadows closing in, Sarah took a step toward the light. Would it guide her to her children, or was she walking directly into the trap they had set? The choice loomed, dark and terrible, in the heart of the forest where monsters wore familiar smiles. The moment Sarah stepped toward the light, a high-pitched wail ripped through the air, shattering her fragile hope. The darkness roared, thrumming like a massive heartbeat, and shadows wrapped tighter around her feet, gnawing at her resolve. The laughter turned into a cacophony, an unsettling chorus that drowned out her own thoughts. "Mommy!" The voice of Lucas, frantic and straining, rang clearer now, but it sent shards of ice through her veins. How could they be so close, yet so far? The light shimmered, flickered, every blink threatened to extinguish the last pieces of her sanity. Just as she leaned in further, the dark figure, her own twisted reflection, suddenly shot forward, blocking the pathway. "Isn't this what you wanted?" It hissed, its eyes glowing like coals in a dying fire. "To play with your children? Here, in our game?" "No." Sarah screamed, but her defiance drowned in the wave of laughter that erupted around her. The shadows twisted and morphed, forming grotesque shapes of children, their faces twisted with mirth, with malice. They danced in circles, chanting, "Play with us forever." Her heart raced, thudding against her ribcage as if trying to escape. Sarah turned, fought against the envelopment of shadows and confusion. The laughter converged, swelling in pitch, and she felt their icy fingers trailing along her arms, binding her with ethereal chains. "We're here, Mommy, we're waiting." Desperation clawed at her throat. She sought the light, the grasping hands of her children shining through the smothering fog. "I'm coming," she cried, though doubt gnawed at the edges of her bravery. Was her love enough to break the chains? She strained against the pull, every fiber of her being yearning for that flicker of warmth. But the duplicates of Lucas and Emily shifted into shadowy caricatures, their faces twisting instead of innocence. There was just darkness. "Join us, Mommy. The game is better with you." A looming terror plunged into Sarah. Maybe they weren't trapped, maybe they were part of this game. Would embracing the nightmare be the only way to see them again? "What do you want from me?" she gasped, panic choking her words. The figure laughed, and for a disturbing moment, it mirrored the grin of her own reflection. "You already know, Sarah. You've always known." In that moment, she felt it the game's rules. Every smile, every gleeful scream echoed the core of her fears. She was meant to choose her children or herself. No longer could she cling to just hope. The shadows seemed to pulse with intent, circling, just waiting for her to make a choice. The pressure built around her head, like an overcooked pot about to explode. The laughter escalated, shaking the ground beneath her feet. She darted toward the light, toward the cries, every instinct screaming that she had to reach them. But as she leaped, shadows lashed at her back. "No. Come back." The echoes of her own son's voice rang hollow, filled with anguish. Sarah surged forward, choking on dust and despair, her heart desperate for the warmth, the love she believed could break the curse. "I will save you." Then she collided with the light, a blinding warmth enveloping her. But as she stumbled into the glow, the forest screamed in rage. A crack split the air, the laughter grew frantic, chaotic. And as she reached for a familiar hand, everything shattered, her world melted, the light dimmed, and she felt pulled in every direction at once. The ground quaked beneath the weight of a terrible, dark knowledge crashing upon her. Suddenly, she recognized the faces of the lost ones. Jason. Lucas. Emily. "Mommy," they murmured, fading away, swallowed by the shadows, leaving nothing but despair in their wake. Sarah came a voice, softer now, familiar yet twisted. "Time to play." And just like that, the shadows grasped her once more, dragging her back into the throes of darkness, where hope lay shattered and terrifying laughter promised a new game. What awaited her in the depths? Would she find them again, or would she become one with the darkness? As that echoing laughter consumed her, the woods remained silent, waiting for the next player to join. The darkness enveloped Sarah, suffocating and cold, wrapping her in a shroud of despair. Her heart thundered in her chest as she gasped, pressing her palms against the chilling ground, seeking some anchor in a reality slipping through her fingers. "Mommy," the voice echoed, softer yet still tormenting, weaving through the thick shadows like smoke. "Where are you?" They were close. Too close. Hope sent a flicker through her, a moth drawn to a flame desperately trying to catch light from the abyss. She pushed against the pull of the shadows, eyes darting around searching for any sign of her children. Black tendrils of darkness slithered past her, clawing at her limbs. The laughter morphed into unsettling whispers, giggling little voices spinning tales of horror, masking their true nature. "Mommy, play with us." They sang, a haunting melody that promised both joy and despair. "Join our game, no." Sarah shouted, grounding herself against their lure. Each word felt like a stone thrown into the void, rippling vainly against an encroaching flood. "I want to play. I'm coming for you." Gripping her head, she fought the anguish suffocating her thoughts. The darkness pulsated, drawing closer, threads of panic unfurling within her like a disorienting fog. Faces emerged from the depth, a swirl of nightmares, each one twisting into a grotesque smile that mirrored her own reflections of guilt and regret. Suddenly, the cacophony of laughter crescendoed, echoing in her skull. "You've already chosen, Sarah. The dark figure emerged, towering over her, a malicious grin stretching its lips unnaturally wide. "Join them or be forever alone," it hissed, its breath cold and rancid, like decay. "Let me go," she cried, summoning an urgency, an unwillingness to give up. But as she screamed, the tidal wave of laughter crashed down on her, shaking her to the core, as if the forest itself shrieked in joy at her torment. She took a step back, fear clawing through her, but somehow her feet dragged forward, compelled by a reckless urge to claim her children. The shadows deepened. Something brilliant caught her eye, a glimmer, a spark. The light flickered again. "Mommy!" It was Lucas. For a fleeting heartbeat, a beam of hope ignited in her chest. Sarah turned, racing toward the shimmer elements of the familiar flickered, but just beyond her grasp. "Don't leave us." His voice fractured, filled with desperation, and with a sudden shove, the darkness wrenched her back. "You'll hurt them. You'll hurt yourself. Please." She screamed, the din of laughter becoming a deafening roar, drowning her intentions. "Tell me where you are." The grip of shadows tightened around her throat, a vice trying to wrest her resolve. She could feel doubt creeping in. What if this was all a ploy? What if the darkness was right? Would abandoning her children be the only way to escape? "Find me, Mommy." It felt like a dagger to her heart, each word a tether pulling her deeper into a void. "Mommy." The whisper echoed again, softer yet insistent. With one final, desperate shove against the encroaching dark, Sarah lunged towards the illusion of light, arms reaching out as if she could physically pull herself into that glimmer of salvation. But the shadows retaliated, wrapping around her, their whispers now a cacophony of sinister delight. "You'll never reach them," it taunted, the darkness shifting, morphing into the faces of her lost children, leering at her. "This is our home now." As the world around her darkened, dread settled in her chest like a stone. What was left of the flicker of hope? In that moment, she felt a choice linger in the air, grotesque and vibrant: join them or surrender to the abyss. But was it even a choice at all? With renewed resolve pressing against her heart, a cold thought loomed: how deeply did she love her children? Would she risk it all to follow them into the void? In that moment of uncertainty, the laughter shifted gears, becoming something darker. "What will you choose, Sarah?" it gloated, teasing yet electrifying. A bone-deep chill spread through her, leaving her with one haunting question. How far would she go to reclaim what was lost? As her resolve hung on the edge of darkness, the shadows whispered secrets just out of reach, ready to ensnare. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see who would emerge unscathed from this nightmare. The whispers thickened, cascading around Sarah like 1,000 fluttering wings. She recoiled, her heart racing, each beat echoing louder than the last. The shadowy faces morphed into grinning specters, their empty eyes filled with an insatiable hunger. "Mommy, where's our fun?" they chorused, each voice distinct yet indistinguishable, a cacophony of her own nightmares rising up to haunt her. The urge to flee battled her desperate need to find her children. Every instinct screamed at her to run. "Stay back!" she shouted, though the words felt weak against the tide of sheer terror washing over her. Each moment spent within the shadows pulled her deeper, stifling her spirit with its cold embrace. Then she remembered the glimmer: Lucas. She had seen him. The hope flickered in her like a candle fighting against a storm. "Lucas!" she yelled, each syllable hanging in the air like a tether. "Where are you?" "I'm coming." But the darkness shifted, curling like smoke, engulfing her in its suffocating presence. "Join us, Mommy," the dark figure said, its voice dripping with a sickly sweet charm. "We have so much to show you." What was this game? Why did it feel like a trap? Anxiety twisted in her chest like a coiling snake. With each breath, she could feel the weight of their eyes on her, voracious and accusatory, as if they blamed her for what had happened. She clenched her fists, searching for strength amidst despair. No matter how deep the shadows clawed, no matter how twisted their laughter became, she wouldn't abandon her children. "I will find you." She screamed, her voice breaking through the distortion around her. In that moment, the air shifted. A whisper floated beside her, soft yet sharp as glass. Do you want to see what lies ahead? A light flickered in her periphery, pulsing like a heartbeat. She turned, heart in her throat, and saw at a windowsill of pale blue light, so impossibly inviting amidst the gloom. Mommy! Lucas's voice broke through the veil again, desperate and raw. She grasped the faint flare, her hand stretching toward that flicker. With renewed determination, she propelled herself forward, the shadows screaming in protest. But each step weighed heavy, as if each inch was being fought with invisible chains. You'll regret this. The dark voice thundered, as the faces twisted into terrifying snarls, drawing closer, seeking to swallow her whole. Leave me alone. She cried, forcing herself to move, fighting through the weight of doubt, guilt, and the relentless terror pushing her back. Gritting her teeth, she burst through a wall of darkness, reaching for that precious light with all her might. Suddenly, the shadows lurched back, and the world around her rippled like water disturbed. She staggered into the luminous void, the sensation of cool air cutting through the oppressive heat of fear. The moment she crossed into the light, a surge of clarity washed over her, clarity mixed with unseen dread. It was warm. It felt safe. But where was her son? Lucas. She called, and the silence that followed sent dread gnawing at her insides. The light around her flared, but instead of comfort, she felt an edge of panic crawl back in. Lucas. The silence twisted into an eerie frame of stillness. Where were they? Had she truly made it, or merely stepped deeper into a new prison? The rhythm of her heart echoed in her ears as she scanned the bright surroundings, searching for any sign of her children. What now, Sarah? Are you truly brave enough to face the truth? A soft voice purred from behind. She spun around, heart pounding once more, as panic raced back into her veins. With a quick glance, the realization hit her: this light was not salvation but a cruel game designed to keep her trapped for eternity. What awaited her in this blinding expanse? Was she, perhaps, walking into an even darker pit? And as that whisper slithered through the air again, fear wrapped around her like a vice. How long until the shadows found her again? What if she was never meant to escape at all? The panic clawed at Sarah's insides like a feral creature desperate to escape. This wasn't a sanctuary, it was a trap masterfully designed to ensnare her mind. She stepped back, heart thrumming against her rib cage, feeling the warm light seeping into her skin, but it offered no comfort. Shadows surrounded the light, lurking just beyond her periphery like predators waiting for nightfall. Face the truth. The voice echoed again, this time closer, slithering a chill down her spine. What do you want to be true, Sarah? Is it the darkness or the light? She whirled around, searching for the source, but it remained hidden. Stop. Where are you? Her voice quivered, laced with fear. Every fiber in her told her to get out, yet she stood rooted in place. Mommy, help. Lucas's voice echoed again, pulling her like a magnet. It was faint but real. Was this a cruel trick? Just another whisper of shadows meant to ensnare her? Lucas. She cried out, forcing her feet to move. She dashed toward the light, breathless and terrified. But the moment she took a step forward, the bright surroundings warped. The edges twisted and then collapsed, blurring into a small, dark room. Her familiarity with the space shocked her, dread washing over like ice. It was the cramped playroom from their old home, filled with worn toys and the smell of aged carpet. No, not here. The weight of memories returned with a vengeance. Come play with us. A childish giggle echoed, the sound shifting the atmosphere around her. She stumbled, her stomach twisting as she recognized the familiar voices. Where are you? She shouted, the panic in her voice palpable. It felt like she was losing ground with every syllable uttered. The shadows shifted again, forming shapes that resembled her children. But their eyes were hollow, dark voids watching her with an eerie fascination. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she took a small step back. She did not want to believe what she was seeing, but they were definitely her kids or at least something pretending to be them. "Join us, Mommy," they chimed together, "we want to have fun. Stop. You're not my kids," she shouted, a surge of conviction battling against the crushing weight of fear. "Where are Lucas and Emma? Show yourselves." In unison, the likenesses of her children tilted their heads, echoing laughter layered with distortion. The sound vibrated through her bones, chilling her core. The room seemed to flicker between states, light battling darkness, love turning into something grotesque. Then a flicker caught her eye. A small door stood ajar in the corner of the playroom. The faint outline of a child slipped through. "Mommy, help me!" Lucas called again, his voice muffled but unmistakable. Sarah charged toward it, heart racing, but the shadowy forms lunged at her, arms extending, fingers stretched out like talons. "Join us!" they sang in a captivating harmony that chilled her blood. "No!" she screamed, and bolted for the door. It drew her closer as her mind echoed her son's desperate plea. She pulled the door wide open and fell into a dark void, wind rushing around her like a torrent. The world spun violently, and she grasped at thin air, struggling to catch her breath. Was she falling or flying? Then everything stopped. Silence. Deep, suffocating silence. As her heart slowed, the darkness opened up to an expanse illuminated by the distant glow of a single light bulb hanging precariously above her. She looked around a basement, decaying and heavy with the stench of mold. In the corner, shadows moved. "Mommy," came that chilling voice again, softer, more haunting now. "Why did you leave us?" Fear coiled back tightly around her chest as she turned slowly, dread amplifying with each step. That voice so pure and innocent. But when she looked closer, she understood. It wasn't just her children, it was something much worse lurking in their guise. "Lucas!" she screamed, but her call was swallowed by the gloom, merging into the void. Was she being watched? What if the shadows had been right all along? What if she never left at all? And there, on the edges of the light, figures danced and laughed, a twisted, ghastly play that echoed nightmarishly, as Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. Would she face the specters of her darkest fears, or were they just the beginning of something much worse lurking in the shadows? The whispers grew louder, shadowy figures circling her, their laughter a sick parody of joy. Each sound twisted inside her like a knife, the innocence now layered with malice. She could feel it in her bones, the unmistakable knowledge that whatever she faced was not just her imagination. It was real, a grotesque mockery of her long-lost family. "Mommy," the voice echoed again, mourning and fragile. Shadows darted closer, their outlines flickering like flames caught in the wind. "Why won't you play with us?" Sarah stumbled back, heart racing, confusion and dread mixing into a heavy cocktail of terror. How could this be happening? This place, whatever nightmare she had entered, felt like a fusion of memories and nightmares, a trap set long before she had even realized. "I'm not playing with you," she shouted, her voice cracking. The space around her felt warped, like a funhouse mirror distorting her reflection. If this was a trap, she couldn't let it hold her, she could fight. "Mommy. We just want to have fun." The laughter swirled around her, drowning out reason. It was a chorus of soulless joy, each syllable striking her like icy daggers. With a sudden burst of determination, she turned back to the flickering light above her. That single bulb seemed to pulse, beckoning her. It had to mean something. Maybe if she reached it, she could find a way out. She sprinted toward it, ignoring the figures closing in, darkness clawing at the corners of her mind. She could almost taste the light, a warm familiar glow wrapping around her. But as she neared, it dimmed, retreating like a mirage. Panic surged through her veins. "No. Please." With renewed energy, Sarah lunged toward the light, but just as she was about to grasp the warmth, something cold seized her ankle, yanking her back. She fell hard against the damp floor, the moldy scent burning her nostrils. The shadows were upon her now, limbs intertwining, grasping, drawing her into their void. "Don't leave us, Mommy, we need you," they whispered, now all around, their breath chill against her skin. The cold terror wrapped like a suffocating blanket. She kicked instinctually, fighting against the writhing mass, screaming as she felt her sanity teetering. "Please. I didn't leave. I need you." Every instinct yelled at her to resist, to fight, but the voices turned into a cacophony of anguish. Then a sound cut through the chaos, the distinct clatter of a plastic toy. It echoed sharply, a reminder of her children's laughter, of days spent playing and cuddling. The chains of despair began to loosen, fraying at the edges. She couldn't fall victim to their tricks, she wouldn't Lucas. "Emma." Her voice cracked, fighting against the shadows clawing at her. "I'm coming for you. I love you." The darkness pulsed with her words, the shadows recoiling. For a flicker of a second, she saw them, her children, smiling, illuminated by the fading light. The shadows rippled, distorting their faces, tainting their features. "Come play, Mommy, no." She screamed, tearing her gaze away. With a raw instinct to survive, she forced herself to rise, shaking off the creeping grasp of despair. Stumbling, she pushed through the darkness, toward that flicker, her heart beating out a frantic rhythm. As she sprinted, the shadows screeched, their laughter morphing to growls, frantic and relentless. They didn't want her to escape. Just as she reached what seemed to be the edge of the dark swirl, time slowed. The light swelled, flickering brighter, promising safety, warmth. For a moment, hope surged within her chest until a hand shot out from the darkness, gripping her wrist with an icy vice. The world warped again, looming shadows thickening around her. "You can't leave, Mommy. Where do you think you're going?" "Let me go." Sarah gasped, struggling against an overwhelming hold. Shadows pulsed, whispering truths she didn't want to hear, feeding on her desperation. She closed her eyes, feeling herself pulled deeper into the darkness, into the wretched deceptions weaving around her, and then everything went black, silence fell, and as she inhaled sharply, she realized something: she wasn't alone. A soft voice broke through the heaviness. "Mommy? Are you here?" Hope flickered perilously as she opened her eyes to find herself in an endless abyss. Would that voice be her salvation or another cruel illusion? The question loomed as the chilling laughter of the shadows began anew, wrapping around her like a noose. Determined to find where that voice came from, she pushed forward, dreading what awaited in the depths of her mind. The darkness clung desperately to Sarah as she shoved through the shadows, her heart still clamoring wildly in her chest. "Mommy? Are you here?" The voice brought a fresh wave of urgency. It was Lucas. Ignoring the swirling darkness, she followed the sound, straining her ears for any hint of her children. Each step felt like wading through a murky stream, the weight of dread thickening around her. "Lucas!" she shouted, her voice sharp and raw like glass cutting through fog. The laughter from the shadows twisted, dipping into a mocking tone that sent shivers down her spine. "You'll never find them, Sarah." The darkness dissolved into whispers, surrounding her, curling in like smoke. "No. I will." Determination surged through her as she pushed past the insidious voices, the childhood giggles now threatening and grotesque. With every ounce of energy, she bore down, her will stronger than the chilling cold that threatened to swallow her whole. Suddenly, a flicker ahead caught her eye, a soft, warm glow breaking through like dawn after a horrific night. "Mommy?" Lucas's voice was clearer now, filled with innocence and hope. "Help me." Sarah bolted toward the light, propelled by love and desperation. She sprinted, ignoring the chilling air brushing against her skin, pulling her back. The shadows screamed in fury, but she couldn't stop. She wouldn't let anything take them from her again. As she reached the light, it enveloped her in warmth, and she skidded to a halt. Before her stood a doorway glowing brightly, almost ethereal, a passage to something real. Heart pounding, she peered into the light and gasped. Lucas. Emily. Her children were just inside, their faces illuminated, radiant with life. Relief washed over her, tugging at her heartstrings. But lurking in the shadows just beyond the light, she sensed something dark, a figure, cloaked in the very shadows that haunted her, watching with predatory glee. Why don't you join us? It hissed, pure venom laced in its tone. They're so much happier here, in the light of the shadows. The air grew heavy, Sarah could feel the room around her pulse with anticipatory dread. Get away from them. She shouted, her voice vibrating as power surged within her. The figure smirked, each smile revealing teeth like jagged glass, and it moved towards her, shadows swirling around its feet as if teasing her hope. No. She screamed, focus shifting from the horror surrounding her to the innocent faces of her children. You don't belong here. With every muscle in her body straining, she lunged forward, racing to protect them. Don't worry, Mommy. We're right here. Emily called out, reaching for her with arms outstretched, radiating pure childhood innocence. In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. I choose to believe in you both. She called, her eyes locking onto theirs as she broke through the doorway into the light. Together, they were stronger than the darkness, forged in love and determination. The shadows recoiled in fury, roaring as the light expanded, drowning out their taunts. Sarah felt the warmth embrace her, enveloping her children as well. She gathered them close, relief flooding her. We're safe now. We're together. Their laughter rang out, sweet and pure, cutting through the fog of despair, igniting hope anew. But as shadows thrashed against the light, the figure's voice hissed from the depths, you'll never escape. It rippled through the air, but Sarah's resolve solidified. Together we can, she countered, heart pounding with every word. Love conquers fear. Hand in hand, Lucas and Emily squeezed tightly around Sarah. And as she took a steady breath, the radiance pulsed outwards, engulfing the darkness before them like a tidal wave. The shadows screeched and began to disintegrate, falling away as Sarah led her children into the warm embrace of freedom. Finally, light enveloped them entirely, blinding and glorious. As it faded, Sarah opened her eyes, gasping for air within the safety of their home. Familiar walls surrounded them, once dimmed by fear but now bathed in soft sunlight. Mommy? Lucas asked. Yawning and rubbing his eyes open. Yes, I'm here. You're safe. Sarah's voice cracked with joy as she enveloped them in a tight embrace, tears flowing freely. As the sun shone through the window, she felt the weight disperse completely, the hold of the shadows shattered, children's voices filled with laughter echoing through every corner. The sinister grip of Hillcrest had vanished, replaced by the vibrant lives reclaiming each day anew. Mama, can we go play in the woods? Emily chirped, her energy infectious. The woods, which had once held horror, now burst with possibility. Sarah ruffled her daughter's hair, wiping her tears as a laugh bubbled forth. Absolutely, but only together, okay? She smiled, joy warming her soul. Together, they stepped outside, leaving the darkness of the forest behind. Sunshine enveloped them, and for the first time, they could breathe easy. The sinister secrets of Hillcrest faded, a cautionary tale of love unbounded stretching across years. Each step they took shimmered with promise, closing the chapter of shadows behind them forever. The light was a promise of hope, the reminder of beauty in unity, family, and the fierce love that always prevails. Now, if you can't stand missing stories like this one, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on what's next. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support, only true fans understand how crucial it is.